You're about to be streamed, guys, so just.
Are we on?
Almost.
Going live, going live.
Natalie, do you want, I can show you how to work this after the meeting.
Morning, Brenda.
Well, I just need to, we'll probably just get
It's
a
gonna
little
be a great day.
HDMI cable so I can put it.
It's a great day to have a meeting.
The cables are long enough. I just have to kind of
I wish I had
play
an
around with it.
Today's a great one.
And then-
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, beautiful,
Yeah. This is beautiful, yeah.
There's a lot of process.
except for my neighbor up the street. Yesterday, he had a big old cottonwood, about 60 foot tall. And the wind wasn't blowing and it just fell over into on his garage. And
Oh,
Ooh, that's bad. That's bad.
one of those that's about this big around,
Oh,
the whole dirt ball just came out of the ground.
wow. Must have been quite a,
ground is so soft right now.
yeah, that's all. I guess it's,
Holes filled in my yard. Wasn't really too excited about it because I'm still full of dirt and plant grass. And you don't plant grass in August or July. So I just allow. My neighbors still want to get around for it.
Yeah, it's she said, my cat didn't even get upset. I just heard a little whoosh.
wow.
She was the one on Highway 20 that had that huge cottonwood right next to the house. They took down a few years ago. Oh, this was in her backyard.
I tell you what, the neighbors will be happy. My son, you know, he lives up on 14th, you know where he lives, up there, and right across the street, that city ground, there's about 6 or 8 cottonwood trees. He has to blow his air conditioner on about every other day.
Really?
Cottonwood trees playing up he said it's just unbelievable that it's that bad. That air conditioner sucks that up and, you know, plays up the street.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna check with you.
Time to get up. Time to get up in the world.
Travis. I'll be out west.
Good. Had a nice rain this weekend. Timely.
What did you end up with over there?
Inch 38 over the weekend.
How much?
Inch 38.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, over 2 rains. So
Yeah. We had-
Getting 15 inches.
We had 9,900.
We were there for a hurricane when I was stationed there. We were there for a hurricane
We
when I
ate
was
it too.
in Hawaii. Yeah, we were stationed during,
I tell you what, that corn.
we were not at the epicenter. We were on, the next island over was the, like the eye. And we just got, but it was,
Harvest yet?
never been in a hurricane.
I don't have any
You know,
I mean, it was pretty windy.
Very much, and,
We were in, toward the center of Oahu, so.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
9 o'clock.
Good morning, everyone. I will call this meeting to order of the Codington County Board of Commissioners. It is Tuesday, July 28th, 2020. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. JT, would you like to lead us today?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Also, just to remind everyone, if you have a cell phone, you might want to put it on silence during our meeting because there is some things that happen to you if you don't, and then we just keep getting heavier by all the rolls that we end up eating. Anyway, also I would mention that for individuals who do not feel comfortable in being in person at our meeting, they are able to call in These items are items that are not on the agenda and just for information, and it will be taken up during the open part of our meeting. The two phone numbers are 882-6248 and 882-6297. And we are streaming live on YouTube as well. So there's another avenue for individuals can watch our meeting later if they're not able to join in now. Item number 3, conflict of interest. Is there any items on the agenda that's conflict for any of the commissioners?
No.
Very good. Item number 4, action to approve the July 28th agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Van Duzen, second by Waterman. All in favor, say aye. Aye. That motion carries. Action to approve the minutes of the July 21st, 2020 meeting.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Johnson, second by Gable. Any additions, corrections? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, that motion carries. We'll move on to monthly reports, and we'll start with Jamie, the Emergency Manager Director. And we'll also take care of your budget while you're here, if that's okay. And you do have another item on, so we'll try to get you all
Morning,
done
Jamie.
at once. Good morning, Jamie.
Turn your mic on.
Good morning. Monthly report, I guess I'll just start with calls of service, probably on the easy side for me with the volunteer side, which is the Codington County Search and Rescue Team. Been very active this month along with helping out with the 4th of July services, but we've actually had 5 calls of EMS service calls that we responded to, 2 which were on Lake Compesca, 1 that was in the eastern side of Watertown within the local jurisdiction, a Hamlin County event and a Dual County event over this last weekend. All fared out very well and called down, and everything was good there. The one thing I am going to mention is we have the board on the search and rescue team has decided to postpone the annual banquet raffle for the Ultimate Sportsman's Raffle until 2021 of August 19th. And that was their decision. So what we did there is offered folks, current purchasers of tickets, the option to get a full refund, the possibility of staying on for next year's raffle on a postponed event, or donate to the team for the ticket purchase. Very well responded so far, very limited on the refund side, and they are getting very good outlooks as far as what has been sold. Next, it's been a very active weather month as far as being called out and putting spotters out. 4 separate calls, which have all produced very strong winds and good heavy rainfall recently over the weekend. Minimal damage, but there has been trees uprooted and tree branch damage. Mainly is the biggest effect of both storms. They were produced respectively 59 mile an hour, 72 mile an hour, 76 and a 58 mile an hour wind over this last course of the events. Total rainfall from the National Weather Service stands at 3.83 inches, which brings me to the climate control of weather and fuels weekly climate update, and they don't foresee anything. We're looking at a nice week, and I think we're standing pretty well right now. We need a little bit of rain again, and hopefully August looks to be a little drier on their future outlooks. Assisted the Watertown Fire Department on a local house fire call, which ended up having me help assist them placing a family that was misplaced due to a fire locally here in town on July 11th. Actually assisted what they called last week on out on the S curves on West 212 with law enforcement. It was a possible spill, but it ended up being quite a few turkeys and ended up getting quite a response. In a nutshell, that stayed together very well, very organized, true asset to the performance towing crew that has the tools to assist with things like that. Continue to monitor the COVID pandemic with the first district on weekly meetings, along with all the auditors and the state coordinator who is guiding us as far as additional things coming online that could or could not be covered. Kind of waiting to hear answers on that from them. Also last week, I had a preliminary meeting with Richland Township about Horseshoe Lake Road, which has been inundated in 3 separate spots now by water from Medicine Lake and Horseshoe Lake up in that neck of the woods. I actually put them in contact with a gentleman out of the state OEM office who is working with FEMA on a 50-50 chance of doing an emergency raise of those 3 separate sections. but we'll wait to hear the answer initially from FEMA if they will. So I'll keep in contact with those folks on one residence that's on the north side of that Horseshoe Lake Road who was challenged really in the event of if they had to have an EMS call or a response out there. They got one way in, one way out. But then I also attended some mass fatality classes last week for 2 days and starting to continue to see the state coming online, and some virtual classes will be coming up. I do have another one that's probably in August. I'll be reaching out to you for a possible travel request to Sioux Falls. If the meeting goes on, they have to fill these classes for their contracts with the Blue Cell company that provides them. Other than that, that's about been a very active month as far as weather and call outs. Any questions?
You ready to move on to your monthly report or I mean, to your,
These,
Ah.
excuse me,
it's gonna be
Jamie,
a long day.
those, that Horseshoe Lake stuff, that's on the township road, isn't it?
That is a township road, correct?
And we've had a conversation about this and your concerns and our, we got that's an emergency deal where it possibly be an emergency deal and possibly might have to have some follow-up action that's not-
Correct.
where it wouldn't be paid for if they paid for it initially.
Right.
I think that was the road that I went with Rick one time and looked. They've done some work. They've tried to be bringing that out, but it still keeps being inundated
Correct. It
with
keeps-
water.
yeah. You get a 2-inch event, that water kind of comes up and it goes, you know, if they were to do an emergency fix, the downfall on FEMA, if the water subsides, it's an emergency clause raise where they may require them to remove.
Mhm.
That's the one that's to the west of McKilligan's out there. Right?
Correct.
Have you heard anything back on that? I know.
Nothing yet. They're still in the preliminary getting some estimates, and I think right now it lies in the hands with the state and FEMA.
Okay.
If they give a yes or a no, then we have to reinvestigate what we do.
It'd be nice if they would step in and help in that
Yeah.
situation.
I do only have one public assistance director that I work with out of Pierce, so I'll be in contact with him.
Good.
to
Thank
stay
you
on top of
for
it. He'll
doing
email
that.
me back and forth on what their answers may
Have
or
you
may not
got
be.
any kind of a gut feeling as far as the, working with the first district on the other project, as to what will be accepted and what won't? How did we have enough stuff?
The CARES Act.
The CARES Act recovery,
Did we have enough,
I have replenished a few, and I would, presuming that we get reimbursed and the way that forecast looks on PPE and things like
Yeah.
that, but very COVID-19 related cost, including, but there is some law enforcement was the big ones on that at first, but now they're slowly channeling, and I'm hearing from our state coordinator that there's other things coming, but first districts, these district associations are all leading this charge.
see,
Along with the
big
governor's
thing was
office.
the law enforcement salaries,
Mhm.
and then now all of a sudden they're saying that now that's being audited, so that maybe becomes an iffy now too.
Yeah.
So,
Kind of, yeah, just listening to them. I mean, there are some things that I'd like to put on there, but I await an answer from First District to get that blessing to move forward some projects. So,
And now there's another proposal out in Washington called the HEALS Act. That came down yesterday from NACO, so that will be interesting to see how,
Additional,
it's a different, and so I can forward this to you. They're going to be having a seminar or whatever, meeting this afternoon, I believe, so
Sure.
might be a good one to tune in on, but anyway. All right, any other questions? Seeing none, let's move on to your budget then, please.
not a lot has changed. Well, I guess a few things have changed. My personal service on the emergency management insurance, I'm still working on a process with that. I did increase that a little bit by $350, possibly just to cover drones for the search and rescue team. The problem with that is we have to get some pilot licensing procedures in place to move forward with that. They're all licensed by machine
Mhm.
and the technology, but the requirement on the pilot side.
And that's
is,
a
little
requirement of
different.
our insurance
And
company.
that's a
And
requirement of
what's,
the insurance.
what is the estimated cost of the drone itself?
Combined, the 3 or 4 that we own, we're probably looking at about 40,000.
Now we
28,000 just initially on the
want to get those
latest
insured,
purchase.
but they're kind of making us
Yeah.
jump through some.
Those need to be covered.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna work on that.
So in order for the insurance to cover the cost of a drone, if we lose one, they have to be certified as a
I
pilot.
need a certified pilot, and the challenge is you have to go through a accredited program
Mhm.
at the expense of, and I'm throwing this out there from what I recall, $300 or $400.
Yeah.
If you fail that, it's another $300 or $400. It's a one-time thing, so the
One time,
education
that's
side.
not bad. That's really not bad.
No, it's not bad.
That's not a bad price.
So what group are you trying to draw from to get the certification?
I will go after like the technology side of LATC. And I think they have a small program. It's just a matter of getting the volunteers that want to
Yeah.
get the licensure, which needs to be at least 2 or 3, because
Mhm.
working with volunteers, not all can respond with their jobs, so. Any other items, management supplies, I'm looking at maybe a little bit more on the, moving some things around for the 2021 to 22-150 is maybe for a little more additional technology upgrades at the EOC. Not a big factor. And that's another project that I would like to visit on the COVID recovery, because if that was activated, that's technology versus computers and virtual things that may be needed there.
Which was that? Which one was
It's going to be the 426 management
that?
supplies.
Okay, yep.
The wages actually kind of went down, but that was from Jim's retirement, the former EM director. The 429.10 emergency management homeland security, that's the federally funded one. We didn't do anything there because typically that comes back to us on the homeland security grant money. The same with the pod grant expenditures is usually reimbursed by the state on that 1,150. Overall, coming down to the bottom line, we are $5,741 less than last year's budget.
We may have to look at your insurance line,
Okay,
because I had information that our property insurance is probably going to be, but maybe we don't have that much for emergency management with property. It looks like most of yours is auto.
What have we been
So-
budgeting? What have the department heads been budgeting for insurance increase this year?
Oh, for health insurance, 15%
15%.
is what, but I'm talking our property insurance.
So that new shed. that we
We'll
put
have
up,
to, I'm just not sure what,
On the
what's
storage
covered
building on the
under,
west side.
yeah, the physical
Okay.
structures that could be seeing an increase. So we'll have to look at that and see where we're at.
So we're talking about line 421, right? In that one?
Yes, line 421.
Okay.
That's our property insurance,
Right,
auto
right.
insurance structures,
yeah.
yeah.
Donuts.
Possibility of a supplement then, is that,
We might just go back and look at it and see if we need to increase it.
Okay.
now.
okay,
Yeah, I mentioned it to Steve last week when he did his report, that it sounds like we could be looking at some increase, and everybody could be looking at increases, not just Codington County.
okay.
So we'll look at it and see.
more information to come.
I still think you'll be under last year's, but we may have to increase that slightly. We'll look at it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Jamie.
All right.
You bet.
Want to do search and rescue?
Now let's move on to.
Yeah, Jamie does have the search and rescue, but basically that budget relies totally on the funds that they take in.
They do
Correct.
not spend any more than what they take in. We just estimated at $50,000 every year. So that's, no, it's nothing on the county, nothing, yeah.
All right, so we can move on to item number 8, action to approve of computer purchases for the emergency management office. You want to give us a little?
Correct. The lowdown on that from Connecting Point, as far as we're just updating our office computers and basically going to laptops. Reason being, we're operating one on Windows 7, which is becoming very generated, not supported much on the Microsoft side. So we're going to try and get that one updated to Windows 10, along with a couple of monitors for my office. By doing this, we'll have docking stations. And the biggest thing for this will be it'll make us remote, as long as we have a Wi-Fi connection as far as technology. So if we're out of town or assisting or going to training or anything, this will give us capabilities to continue the office side of our job, along with remotely working from home if that would happen. But that is the biggest thing. The one thing that we did get Connecting Point to do, if we go with this proposal, is they did take out the labor of the on-site setup, which would have been $860. They offered that up to me on the proposal, which saved that not quite 1,860 total.
Now, is this in your 2020 budget?
Somewhat
Somewhat.
from what I look back on what Jim budgeted.
But didn't we find out that we could submit?
What this,
these?
the biggest thing on this is probably going to be reimbursed on that COVID recovery.
Yeah, we can,
That's why I'd like to go after it.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Gable, second by Van Duzen. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. All right, I think we're done with you. Thanks, Jamie.
Got it? Thank you.
Thanks, Jane.
All right, next we will move on to the monthly reports with the sheriff.
Morning.
Morning,
Brad.
Brad.
Grab one and pass them down. Start with the monthly balance sheet here. And for the month of June 2020, you can see the ending balance was $7,028.84. We collected $6,247.90 in sheriff's fees and $300 in warrant fees for a grand total of $6,547.90. And then there was, we had to get checks printed, so there was $108.56 there for a grand total of $589.50 again for our balance. Jump to the next page there, you'll see the stats for the office here. We'll start up on the top there on the right. Lee's got it up on the big screen so everybody can see it. In June, the sheriff's office responded to 668 cases and calls, did 9 accident reports, 62 warrants were served, 177 civil papers were served, and 2,984 transport miles were transported. Like I say, those miles are down a little bit just because of COVID. We haven't been out transporting as much. Some of them have been cut down a little bit, some of it due to the courts being a little bit slower as well. So if you jump on down to the middle there, you'll see some jail stats. Our average daily population for June, you see it creeped up just a little bit. It's 42.9. Our high ADP was 48. Low was 37. 2 people that were on the scram bracelet, 0 people on the twice daily PVTs. Because of COVID, we haven't been able to implement that program back up yet. Twice weekly UAs, we did start that program. You can see we're at 38 participants on that program. And on the sweat patch, there's 5 participants in the month of June. If you jump down, you see there was 194 bookings. So those kind of jumped up a little bit again. They're starting to get back into the normal swing. If you look from back in even February, March, they were kind of consistent back to those numbers. So if you jump on down to the bottom there, you'll see in June and out of county contracts, the county collected $8,317.99. Work release fees, $0 because that program, of course, isn't going on because of COVID. 24/7 fees, we collected $1,976, and scram fees, we collected $378. Any questions on those numbers?
Nope.
All right.
Yeah, I do, Brad. I got a question. You got $1,976 for 24/7 fees, which is the twice daily UAs, right?
Yep.
But looking at the figures, it went up from 27 to 38 in June. But in May, it was 543 versus 27, and in 38, in June, we had 38, and it's up to 1976.
Some of those kind of depends on when the offender pays. Sometimes the offender doesn't have their $10 right when they come in, so we do kind of have a little bit of a balance. We'll play with them a little bit. We don't want to arrest them, bring them into our facility just because they didn't pay for their $10 UA fee. Our goal is to keep them out on the street and to keep
So
them.
this was kind of a catch-up money.
Yeah, so some of that is kind of catch-up money for, when the program maybe was halted until it got started again. So, but some of that is, like I say, might have been coming in from the PBTs that people sometimes have a deficit in there, they haven't paid full. So that's kind of where some of that money kind of comes up and down, and kind of like a roller coaster with that.
Do they ever pay in advance?
Very occasionally, we'll get some people that'll pay in advance for maybe a few days or something, but yep. All right.
Any other questions for Brad?
So it could be like Burger King, you pay for the guy behind you, right?
Yep.
So we can move on then to your budget if that works for everyone.
All right, budgeting stuff. Matt is apologetic, he can't be here. He came down with an illness yesterday, and he's not able to make it today. So on the jail budget, if we have some really deep questions, you might have to hold off on that, but I'll wing it. I think I know most of it here, so.
So you starting with jail
Which-
first or yours?
We want to start with the jail first?
Doesn't matter. We can do yours,
Oh.
whichever one you got there. Doesn't
What color
matter.
is that? Or what page?
If we're doing the sheriff, it is page 27.
I got the jail budget here.
Okay,
What's it?
then that would be 29.
Just jail? Yeah, it's 212. 212.
All right, so everybody's got her pulled up there.
Not yet.
You should have a little cheat sheet here of kind of the changes that were printed off. I don't know. I'm guessing Cindy got them to you.
Yeah.
But you can see in line 411 there, budgeted based on step increases and a 3% cost of living raise. Line 415, we didn't get the memo on the 15%, so we budgeted 10% for insurance. We're probably a little bit low, sound like here as the numbers start coming in. We did budget 10% instead of 15%. Line 415.20, we did a 5% increase on dental insurance. 415.30, we reduced by $250. Line 422, we decreased by $2,000 due to the men care working and doing great things in our jail. Line 422.10, we decreased that one by $20,000 as well due to men care savings. So you can see that they've been working and doing as we planned when we took them on. Line 422.3, we decreased that one by $1,000. Line 426.2, we decreased that one by $26,000, thanks to Consolidated Correctional Food Services starting up here last month. That seems to be working great. Been working through that. So that looks like a savings of about $26,000. We did want to leave a little bit in there just in case the numbers do kind of creep up and down. So if you jump to line 428, we decreased that one by $10,000. Line 433 was an increase of $105,000 due to phase 2 of upgrading the cameras. You can see there was $30,000 and $110,000 for pipelining of sewer pipes. Last year, we had a sewer line issue downstairs. It was one of them cast iron pipes was completely rotted away. We had them come in and scope. We worked with the maintenance department. They scoped all the lines and they recommended that you should probably get that done sooner than later, or you're going to be tearing up your basement floor and your basement walls to make that work. So that's in the budget for there. Phase 2 of the camera system, like I say, this year we started with the lock system, some of the cell check system, and that's going to phase 2 into some of the camera system a little bit. Updating all the cameras. We got the DVR part that's going to be happening here soon. So next one, line 434 was an increase of $33,000 for phase 2 of the lock system. Like I say, we got the main guts in now. Now we got to go through and get the rest of the door locks fixed up. We're going to plan on having those fixed in the jail. The old 1970s lock system going to be upgraded to this new key fob system. So plus the old system's having issues. We also plan on buying a couple new office computers. Camera maintenance and Zerker maintenance fees are included in that as well. Line 435 is a decrease by $1,000. And if you jump on down to the 24/7 budget there, it's a little bit smaller, but you can see line 411, the wages and salaries are calculated using a formula based on the number of 24 participants that we have. Line 425 budgeted $5,000 to continue our practice of replacing and working on the DVR system and the cameras every year that we may have issues with. And line 426, 24/7 supplies include PBTs, drug tests, and everything else. So. All right.
Madam Chair, just a question on one of the budgeted, you mentioned the new locks, Sheriff. So, and I think we talked about this before, but those, if we ever did a new facility, would that be some equipment that they could take and move to another one?
Yes, that equipment is something that they can come off and then they can save that equipment and reuse it on new facilities.
Okay.
We were told we could do some of that stuff with the camera system as well. You can take out the DVR system and those can be reused as well. And once we upgrade the cameras, those would be something that would be acceptable to be reused as well.
Okay. And so that $140,000, that's a lot of that's the plumbing.
A lot of that is
sewage,
the plumbing.
the drain pipe. Okay.
Yeah.
So the increase is 140,000. Now we're at,
433 there.
yeah,
Oh, let's see here.
It's
that's 33,000 for the
Looks like $105,000 increase.
105,000.
Looking at the line item here.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the jail budget?
No other questions, move on to the sheriff's office.
All right, you guys got the sheriff's office budget pulled up there. Jump on down the lines there. You should have a little cheat sheet as well. You can see line 411 there, budgeted 3% COLA and step increases. We also included $44,720 in wages for the cops grant. Line 412, the employer social security. We did add $3,421.08 for the cops grant. Retirement, we did add $3,577.60 for the cops grant. Line 413.10, you can look at the supplemental insurance there. We added $360 for the cops grant. Line 415, health insurance, budgeted 10% and added $11,758 for the cops grant. Like I say, that 10%, I didn't get the memo on the 15% that the other department heads were doing, so that may be a little bit low depending on where numbers come in. 415.2, Delta Dental, budget of 5% increased and $510 for the cops grant. Line 415.3, we budgeted $65 for the cops grant. 417, line 417, we got workers' comp, we budgeted $2,500 increase following previous year's expenses. It seems like that line just kind of been creeping up over the last few years. Line 421 on insurance, we increased that $1,000. Again, that one seems like that one's been increasing, and Cindy made it sound like those are increasing as well. So,
And yours do not include, I mean, yours include just auto. So
Okay.
I'm not sure. I know it's structures that are probably going up. I'll have to check on that.
Okay. Line 424, the rentals, we decreased that by $500. Line 42620, uniforms, we decreased that by $1,500. We got less vests that we need to buy for next year. Line 429.1, increased the DARE budget by $100. And line 434, machinery and equipment, I decreased that by $16,800. Plan on buying 2 patrol vehicles, a couple tasers, a couple office computers, and a couple body cameras, just to try to stay on a schedule here. And if you look in that budget there, you can see $64,411.68 is the amount that is added in for the COPS grant. Got it all itemized out in
So that,
the
can you say
budget
that,
worksheet there.
Madam Chair, can you say that number again? You added,
For the COPS grant,
Yeah,
there was $64,411.68
right, okay,
added for the COPS grant.
okay, thank you. And that's like looking at equipment and all the things that go with it?
That is just wages and benefits.
Okay, all right.
For that officer.
Okay.
Any other questions for Brad on his budget? Seeing or hearing none, we will move on to item number 7, then action to accept the COPS grant award to hire 1 deputy sheriff. And Brad, if you'd
All
want to
right,
start
yeah.
that conversation.
Sure. Several months ago, came to the board and got permission to apply for a COPS grant to add 1 deputy to the fleet, to the deputies there. I brought some numbers with just to kind of show the need and then kind of see where the office has been sitting over the years.
Somebody get the mile or the calls one?
What's that? Yeah, I'm gonna start out with the calls here. Calls for service, and jump back to 2010. 2010 is when we added our 9th deputy. That was the last time we added a personnel to our staff on deputy wise. In 2010, we had 3,719 calls for service. If you look at the graph there, they just keep on creeping up, and each year there's a few hundred more calls. If you look at 2019, we're at 7,141 calls for service. If you look at 2020, this year, I took January 1st to July 1st, we're at 3,742 calls. So in this first 6 months of this year, with the same amount of staff, we have done, in the first 6 months, we've done more calls for service than we did the full year of 2010. Taking double that number, we're on track to still beat 2019's calls for service numbers. Looking at even transport numbers, just to kind of give you guys an idea of how busier and how much more things have been happening here. 2010, there's 28,787 transport miles. 28,787. And then in 2019, there was 55,891 transport miles. Most of the transports are done by part-time staff. There are a handful and some transports that need to be done by certified staff that have the training and equipment to handle maybe the violent person or the mental health, the CIT part of that inmate. So you can just see a lot of the numbers, they are creeping up. We are a lot busier than what we used to be.
So I'd make a motion to approve that we accept the COPS grant.
Okay, we have a motion by Gable. Do I have a second to that motion? I'll second that motion.
We say, want to continue on, we oftentimes get compared to Brookings County and Brown County on the number of deputies and the comparison on size and where everybody should be sitting and where everybody is sitting. So I got a hold of both sheriffs over there, one in Brookings and one in Brown. The Brookings County Sheriff has 15 certified officers, himself and 14 deputies. Three of them are in the jail. When we say that they're in the jail, I don't have any in the jail. So my deputies on the street still have to go deal with the things that are in the jail, whether it's an assault call, whether it's a transport an inmate to the hospital, dealing with serving warrants. So those deputies that are in the jail also have squad cars in Brookings, and they do respond to calls as well if needed. So
I have a question, Brad, just on that
Sure.
note, of those 15 certified, are they all full-time?
full-time certified, yes.
And they all have their own squad?
Yes.
Okay.
Brown County has 19 certified sworn, including the sheriff, so 18 deputies and the sheriff. And the same thing, they have 2 deputies in the jail right now, and they're looking to move them to the street, according to the sheriff, just because the need has changed in their jail and how they're kind of doing things. So they're looking at moving in those 2 deputies to the patrol side here, and then helping out, dealing out with court security and the court, so.
So, I'm sorry, did you say for both? Sorry, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
For Brown and Brookings, those numbers include the sheriff himself?
Those numbers do
Okay.
include the sheriff himself.
And so and then for us, we have, including you, it'd be 10.
10.
Okay.
Yep. Yes. And I have no deputies in the jail, no certified full-time deputies in the jail. They're all out designated for patrol or civil process or executions, court security, dealing with the duties of the sheriff. So.
Brad, I have a question in reference to calls for service. What do you qualify as a call for service? Now, here, the reason I'm asking this
Yep.
question, Codington County also encompasses Watertown. Is there some duplication of calls for service? Those calls for service, you understand, do they go to the Watertown Police Department as well as the Codington County Sheriff, and do they get double? You understand?
Yeah, absolutely. Our office does respond to calls in Watertown. Like I say, we do get called to calls in Watertown to help out with the police department at times. There are other duties that the sheriff does in town, the civil process, distress warrants, executions. There are duties that the sheriff does do in town. We're like the left hand of the court. The court calls upon us to do stuff. So those calls would be some calls that we would deal with in town, and maybe not the city police. So those calls can be ranging from responding to a car accident. Like I say, sometimes we're called to assist the police department. They come and assist us at times. So does that kind of answer your question a little bit?
Yeah.
Brad, I have, because I'm familiar with how calls for service are categorized.
Yep.
I'm curious about the system that was in place back in 2010 versus the system that's in place in 2020 as far as how those calls are categorized.
Okay.
We have Zerker back in 2010?
We did not have Zerker. Zerker started in March of 13, if I remember correctly.
Okay. And, a call for service could be returning a phone call to somebody. So I'm curious about, I don't want people to believe that just because the call volume has doubled, that means that a deputy has to respond out there in person to every one of those calls. So I think that that's important to know, that the calls are being categorized in different ways. Have any of your calls been recategorized since 2010?
We've kept them the same. And like I say, I'll even share some of these numbers here. For instance, in 2010, there was 247 traffic complaints.
Okay.
2019, there was 586. And you see, they almost doubled. Accidents reports or accident complaints here, 286 in 2010, 433 in 19. So you can see those numbers are doubling. Drug complaint. We all know we have a meth problem here in Watertown. Along with a drug problem like that comes other crimes. You have burglaries, you have assaults, you have thefts, you have everything like that to support that drug problem. Back in 2010, 69 drug arrests. 2019, 286 drug arrests. You can see that those numbers do creep up. So they're definitely active. The deputies are proactive. I'm proud that they're proactive and not being reactive. So.
On the civil side of it, are there companies that contract
for X amount of dollars or so much a month for serving civil papers?
It's a possibility. I know attorneys will do certain times, when the papers come from the courts by statute, it's the sheriff's responsibility to serve and to take care of these papers, civil process, right?
So, yeah, if I could make a few comments, Madam Chair, just to me, you know, the data is showing that so the sheriff's asking for one more deputy. And I think the calls have been counted based, it sounds to me like they've basically you're counting the same stuff that you did now that you did back in 2010. So, so it looks, we're close to doubling. You're asking not for a doubling of your force, but for an additional deputy. And so this seems like to me, you know, this is a federal grant, means our taxpayers have helped to pay for this with their federal taxes. So this is an opportunity to get something, some of that money back in our community, helping us out for an expense that, you know, based on the data, looks like we need to take care of. So I think this is just kind of makes sense. You know, we're going to have to say, you know, if we don't do this, you know, we obviously need to do something about this because if you just look at the call volume. So we're going to have to be able to answer our taxpayers as, you know, when we had an opportunity to get some federal money back into our community, why didn't we take that if it was an expense that we really ought to do? So, and I realize, you know, it's a shared, we have skin in the game, you know, it's a matching grant. And so, and the sheriff, you know, explained how that was included in the budget. So, you know, I think that's it just kind of makes sense to me.
I would add to that. I was on the board back in 2010. And at that time, when we did approve that grant, we knew the next budget year, we were going to have 0 CPI. But we realized the importance of adding staff to that department for the public safety side of what is our responsibility.
Madam Chair, can I just piggyback on your comment? You know, one of the things we have to keep in mind as a county is that law enforcement is one of those bread and butter responsibilities that the law gives to counties to do. So this is a priority. So.
Right. And these don't come around that often. I mean, this opportunity, you know, how many years has it been since this was offered? Another point is the city of Watertown took advantage of this as well, and they're putting 3 new people on staff. So in comparison, you know, they realize the importance of this as well.
So can I ask a question, Madam Chair? So if we don't, how often do the COPS grants, the RFPs come out for a COPS grant? How often does that happen?
Well, oftentimes they kind of ride with kind of the president, you know, depending on his or her agenda. I've been looking for the last few years, not saying that I may have missed one, it's possible, but it's, like I said, I've been checking for the last 3.5 years since I've been in office, just to kind of keep a feel for it, to see if anything is coming or going. I haven't seen anything that's, you know, that's come across, I guess, so.
So this is an opportunity we should,
In my opinion, this is an opportunity that we should take.
Yeah, and it helps us to avoid kicking the can down the road and take care of something we need to do.
What is the county's cost for this deputy position?
25% local cash match. I don't have,
Is that 25% over the course of the grant for 3 years, or 25% per year?
It's up to $125,000, and then it's 75% per year. So there is a small fee of the deputy each year that we're going to have to pay, and then have to keep that deputy on for the 4th year at full expense to the county.
Was that
And beyond the
125?
excuse me,
Go ahead.
excuse me, Brad, and beyond the 4th year?
Well, like I say, this is a 4-year grant. My goal would be to, of course, not let the person go.
It's a 3-year
But, you know,
grant.
It's a 3-year grant with one, we have to keep them for the 4th year by signing and agreeing to the grant. So it's a 3-year grant with 4 years of keeping the officer.
Yeah, if I could, I don't want to interrupt you. So the real question is, do we need another deputy? And I think the data tells us we need another deputy. Okay, so how do we pay for it? Well, we have an opportunity now to ease ourselves into this expense over a period of 4 years. Yeah, you know, but this is something that counties need to pay for. This is law enforcement. It's our responsibility.
looking at some of the revenues coming in, I did talk to Cindy. Did you want to share kind of how revenues are sitting?
You know, a few months ago, I did say we were gonna have to watch our revenues just to see if COVID had any effect on them. But I can tell you that our revenues at the end of June in 2019 and the end of June in 2020, the percent collected is virtually the same. So we are on track. Some of our revenues are up, some are down. Our biggest revenue is our property tax collection, and it is unchanged at this time. Property tax collection the first half was equal to what it was a year ago. So
Have we started collecting any funds from the wind towers yet? Or is that-
wind towers, we've received a small payment this year, and I really don't know what those revenues are going to be. We're also receiving the liquor tax reversion money, which is about over $100,000. That's still coming in. That hasn't changed. So
Those wind towers, they also drive a lot of our numbers as well. There's a lot of activity happening on the east side of our county. So definitely a lot busier there.
Brad,
One other-
are we going to have to buy a car? Do you have a car for this deputy?
Right now, we have a spare vehicle. I plan on using that spare vehicle. And just like any vehicle and any equipment, they wear out in time. So someday we'll probably have to buy a vehicle and replace a vehicle.
I would just say, we have some other individuals that are sitting here that are boots on the ground. I guess out of respect of them, I would maybe, if someone would like to come up and just give your perspective on this as well.
Come on up,
You can
Brad. Just
come.
have
Yep,
a
come
seat.
on
up and-
Turn the mic on.
Just say your name, state your name. and-
The gate's not locked.
I don't want to get arrested, that's all. Well, as you probably know, I'm Brent Solon. I'm with the Sheriff's Office. I'm the president of the Deputies Association currently. Our association has talked about this, and we're here to show support for the COPS grant. I can tell you from my experiences, currently I hold a sergeant position within the Sheriff's Office. One of my many responsibilities is that I have scheduled deputies according to how they fit. And puts a lot of stress on the department when just one person is gone for vacation or if they're sick. I find that I often have to move shifts around and adjust hours a lot of those shifts just to avoid having gaps in the schedule where we don't have anyone out patrolling at all. One of our deputies currently serves in the National Guard, and our agency takes a lot of pride in employing military personnel such as himself. With him being an active military member, he oftentimes has to leave his job and family to go to training. When he's gone, it can be difficult to get his shifts covered. Stretched as thin as we are, sometimes there's only one deputy patrolling at a time with the entire county under his supervision. It's important to me that our deputies go home safely to their families and at the end of every shift, and having another deputy would provide a safer working environment for each deputy. I've been approached in the public, whether eating in a restaurant or fueling up my patrol car, and people have said to me, I appreciate everything you do and thank you for your service. These citizens have no idea how much that means to me. Just to hear that, the trust that we have or that the public has in us to do our jobs. We watch a lot of other communities across the nation with different views on their law enforcement right now. Many of those communities have officials making movements to defund the police. I know that's not the stance of our county commissioners, and I have faith that you guys will make your decision here today with public safety and deputy safety in mind. I'm honored to serve in this community, and this community deserves a sheriff's office that is progressive and can ensure the public safety. Please vote yes when approving this COPS grant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brett. On behalf of the Deputies Union, any questions?
I would just piggyback on something, this is an opportunity here. It's not the time to pass on an opportunity to support our law enforcement. And so.
And also, like I say, looking forward at some of the other revenues, some of the COVID funds. I think Cindy reported a few weeks ago, I should say, some of them COVID funds, there's a possibility that the county gets close to $1 million in funds for law enforcement, for the sheriff's staffing budget. So those are funds that would be coming in that would end up in the general fund, and
Correct.
that
They
would,
are one-time funds, but they are a significant amount that would sustain us definitely to
I would-
sustain a position like
Call to
this.
question.
I would like to make a couple comments first.
Okay.
If that's all right.
Yep.
We've heard from the people here that are very much in favor of us approving the COPS grant. And thank you, folks, for everything you do. Believe me, security is number one in the county. We want to make certain that this is a safe place to live and raise our families and so on and so forth. It's very, very important. Now, let's back up and I want you people to understand what we have to deal with as commissioners. I've already had calls say, point blank, what the hell you need another deputy for, they need help drinking coffee or whatever, that's what I get out there, people. You need to understand that there's no free gifts, there's no free rides. And when you compare it to the city, one of the commissioners here said, well, they're getting 2 or 3, whatever it is. It's a little bit different deal because my understanding is they're not going to supply them with a patrol car. They're going to be working with another individual on a buddy system or whatever it is. I don't know what it's called. But if we do this and we bring on another deputy, I want that deputy to be fully geared as well as any of the other deputies that we have. In other words, I don't want to send them out in an old beat up Plymouth Fury, that's going to end up out in the stick somewhere and broke down. I want them to have the same technology, the same current equipment that all of the deputies have because they deserve that. We don't want to send somebody out ill-equipped. It's going to cost money. And here's where the rebuttal comes from our citizens out there. It's tough out there right now. This is probably the worst time there is for us to, I can remember running for this office many years ago that somebody approached me and said, I know you have an opportunity to get a lot of grants. Don't take them because this country has become so dependent on grants and money from the government. It's got to start and stop somewhere. And I understand, the money's there. It's been granted. We've already been authorized this grant. And if we don't use it, somebody else will. I can understand that. The point is, it's still our taxpayers' money out there. And there's people right now that are wondering where the next meal is going to come from, and they don't have a job anymore. And so you have to understand what the grief that we're getting when we're adding another deputy or whatever it happens to be. And I just wanted to share that. There's many, many good things about it. There's no question about it. But there's also the other side of it too.
Yeah. And like I say, I'm glad you share that because I often hear, I wish you can get 3 more deputies. I'll get random people on the street saying, I wish you can get this one and 2 others. Like I say, so I hear just the opposite too. So.
Brad, I just want to, and I know you've heard my thoughts on this, but I just want to bring it out in public that the one concern that I have is that we have an individual that's a certified deputy sheriff that is acting in a civil service process server, making the wages of a deputy sheriff. Why can't that deputy be put into uniform to assist with calls? If we're taking so many calls, we need to have uniformed people out on the street taking calls. I assume any deputy that's with the sheriff's office can also serve papers, right?
And they do.
So that's my hang up with adding another position.
Well, the civil process deputy, let's talk about him just a little bit. Civil process deputy is serving papers. So we can talk about serving papers, that you're knocking on someone's door and you serve them a paper. Along with that, we're serving executions. We're taking property. We're serving evictions. Grand Forks, North Dakota, 2-3 months ago, had a civil process officer going up to serve an eviction, got shot and killed. I sent a deputy to that funeral. That happens. It happens in our backyard. So it is important that our officers and our civil process deputy is certified. Brown County, Brookings County, most every other county around, they're certified.
Do they have individual that
have
just focus
individual,
on paper service?
paper service and the civil process side of the sheriff's office. That is the spot that is most likely to get my office sued for doing something wrong,
Mhm.
because I'm taking your property
Right.
for bankruptcy, for an execution, for a distress warrant. We're dealing with, the county's tax funds. We're going out there and we're seizing property. That is the opportunity for our office to get sued. So having somebody that's extremely knowledgeable in that position is imperative to any larger sheriff's office.
Okay.
Because the sheriff and the office, we can get immersed, we can get sued, the county can get sued.
Is that position under state law required to be a certified position?
Under state law?
Yeah. It's not. Okay. But we have a certified deputy that's doing that position right now,
Yes.
that's doing that. Okay.
Like you say, you can imagine when you're going up and you're taking property. I've been there hundreds of times. People are upset.
Sure.
You're not coming,
I
you're not
understand.
kicking me out of my house
Mhm.
unless we're gonna have a gunfight. So
Right.
it takes the right person to be able to do this. And like I say, it happens, and it just did. There was a funeral just 2-3 months ago in Grand Forks of an officer serving the eviction.
I just want to make sure that we're using our resources that we have available to us,
Yep.
you know, because,
And that
Understand.
officer also he serves with our SWAT team, and he trains and he serves warrants and he does the same stuff as a deputy. He's been to accidents. I know you guys have all seen him out and about in an accident scene here and there. He's got lights on his vehicle. He's got a cage. He can do transports. He takes people to Yankton. He's doing the same things that the deputies are. Focuses mainly on civil process.
Okay.
The other thing to keep in mind is when you look at Brookings and Brown counties, what their number of officers are compared to ours, like-sized counties. You know, how are they able to double their force and have all those?
Like I say-
individuals?
They're not as efficient. That's bottom line.
There you go.
We're a
Like I
lot
say-
more efficient,
Well,
right?
it's-
Like I say, even when I ran, we do more with less, and
Yeah.
I'm proud of that. But like I say, there comes a time where we do need to look at the numbers and how long can you continue to do this? We have a great group of staff here that are undervalued and underpaid sometimes, especially with the atmosphere that's going on in the world right now. The defund the police, and we all know what's happening across the nation with law enforcement. And we want to keep them and be able to keep our numbers consistent and be proactive.
The other thing I would
Instead of
like
being
to,
reactive.
I would like to add, as Brad as our sheriff realizes better than any of us what the needs of his office is and what his officers are having to go through and to be able to provide that service. And if there's a point in time that he realizes that they're all over, or hard to fill shifts, hard to get people to provide the service under public safety. I guess I respect his request, and I appreciate you going through the process of the grant. So I guess, I don't know if anyone else has any other
I'd like
comments?
to call the question. I mentioned that before. Can we do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I guess we're ready to vote, but I'm going to call for a roll call vote.
We need to vote on the call the question first.
No, I don't think
No.
you do.
You don't have to vote.
I think we do, don't we?
I think you
So
call
no.
the question, it just brings
It
it
just
to the
brings it
vote.
to
I
the,
believe, I
yeah,
believe.
otherwise you'd need to get a second, you'd have to, yeah, no.
Gable,
Aye.
Hanton,
Aye.
Johnson,
You can see I'm a fence rider here, can't you? I understand both sides of the situation and I'm gonna vote no.
Van Duzen,
Aye.
Waterman.
No.
The motion passes 3-2.
Good.
All right,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Brad.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you,
And
guys.
thank you folks for coming up. We appreciate the input from you. Appreciate that much.
All right.
Thanks,
thank you.
Brad.
All right, thanks. All right, let's move on to item number 9, action to approve claims for payment. Do you have any of those today, Cindy?
We have
We had that
salary
one.
claims, monthly July salary claims, and then we have our 911 payment to the city, which is floating around somewhere on my desk. I'll be right back. take two separate motions on this. Let's do the 911 claim first. This is our monthly payment to the city of Watertown for the 911 surcharge collections in the month of May, $22,609.02. Just
Make-
need a motion.
Motion, oh, sorry. I'll second.
Motion by, how are we doing it?
Gable.
Gable, and then second by Van Duzen.
Yep.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Salary claims.
Salary claims for the month of July total $560,194.56. As a note of interest of those claims, $87,776.26 are sheriff's office, and I am preparing spreadsheets right now for March through July, salary claims for the sheriff's office to submit to the CARES Act funding. So we're at about $350,000 right now. Yeah, about $350,000 right now that we could submit for reimbursement. Anyway, total claims are $560,194.56.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Van Duzen, second by Gable. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion.
Can I just ask a quick question on what?
Sure.
It's, so on the salary claims for the CARES Act,
Mhm.
Is that a quarterly submission or a monthly?
Monthly, they
It's a
want to see
monthly.
it monthly, yep.
Okay,
And it includes gross wages and benefits
okay, thank you.
for everyone in the law enforcement office, clerical, and those with arrest powers.
And so that number you just said, was that cumulative up to this point, or is
Yes,
that
yes.
just for this? Okay, all
Yes.
right, thanks.
And my original estimates could be more or less from my original, because all I could do at that time was take an average. So, but we are getting close to get an amount that we budgeted for that we're going to see revenue for. Okay, did we vote on the salary claims?
Yeah.
I think we did.
I think we did.
So we can do it again just in case.
Just in case.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Sorry, I went down the rabbit hole.
I couldn't
I
remember.
think we did, and then we went back, so, but it's
All
okay.
right, okay.
Item number 10, action to approve automatic budget supplements.
None today.
11, action to approve personnel changes. We have a few of them.
Dave Heading at the Highway Department is a maintenance 3 position. He is due a step increase to step 14, $25.42 per hour. And J.C. Moe is a part-time correctional officer who has reached the number of hours to move to step 2, $18.69 per hour.
Move approved.
Motion by Johnson.
Second.
Second by Gable. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, that motion carries. Travel requests, we have a few of those.
Yeah, 3 so far. This is the auditor, the treasurer, and the register of deeds request authorization to travel to the annual South Dakota Association of County Officials Conference in September in Sioux Falls.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Gable, second by Van Duzen. Any discussion?
If any of you intend to attend that conference, I will need your registrations as soon as possible.
I didn't give you mine.
I think I
gave
laid one
mine.
on everybody's desk a while ago, but I have more.
I think I filled it out and took
I
it home
gave
with me.
you mine.
Okay.
You got mine. I think I gave it to
Right,
last
right,
year.
yeah, yes.
So yes, I would encourage all of you to attend that. It's a good,
Yep.
good refresher on things.
September 13th.
September, it's
14th
Monday and
And
Tuesday.
15th.
Monday, Tuesday.
And it's,
Yeah.
yeah, just a 2-day now. They've cut it down, so.
So the board will not meet on September 15th.
All right,
We just need to.
all in
vote on
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Number 13, I don't know, does anyone can think of anything there could be a quorum of us at? Maybe Thursday Night Live, I don't know.
Well,
Anyways,
There's a lot of public events going on
Yeah.
Friday too at the Goss. There's also some stuff going on up north at the casino. Just a lot of stuff. I don't know.
hard
be
to
at the-
say.
Yeah.
There could be a quorum of commissioners maybe at some of these events, but. Item number 14, old business.
I did not realize that I had removed COVID COVID-19
Oh.
discussions from the agenda.
Right.
But it has come to my attention in the last week that we have a number of employees who are now traveling out of state. And we don't really have a policy for allowing those employees to come back to work when they travel out of state, either by air, by car, by whatever. So I did send in a question out to the auditors across the state. The only response I got was from Marshall County. They do have a policy that employees who travel by air shall quarantine for 14 days after returning. But like I said, I have nothing else, and I don't know. I've been fielding questions from department heads, so that's kind of why I threw it out to you guys to think about. I don't know if you want to do something.
Madam Chair, so Natalie was part of that email, so you're willing to maybe come up with some stuff that we can talk about next week, or if you have ideas right now, maybe we just tell us.
I had contacted Natalie yesterday too, and just kind of put a bug in her ear. Maybe this is something that we should kind of look at, so that it's consistent across the board for everyone. Otherwise, if we leave it up to department heads, everything's going to be different. And not that I don't respect how they do it, but just makes it easier for everyone if we are.
So how do we quarantine a county employee for 14 days? That means that they
I
don't come to
know.
work
That's
for
why I
14
turned to you
days?
guys. We did have a possible employee who was being tested. Thankfully, that test was, the employee had something else. It is not COVID. And in that case, I guess we just follow the CDC guidelines, but the travel part of it, it's up to you guys. I just want to advise you that I've had questions.
Yeah, that just to give everybody an idea. I know, like it's in the second situation you mentioned, when say you have an employee that you work with that is being tested, or then there is some CDC guidance on that. Basically everybody in the office kind of puts on masks and makes sure that they're a little,
Right, I mean,
They're still working.
they're still
just
working,
in
but they
their own
apply
little cubicle.
an
I
extra
mean, they
level
were
of
working
protection.
though, and they didn't know that they may be.
Yeah, but then they still don't know, but the idea
Right.
is that we're essential, the county government,
Right.
we can say we're essential.
I
Then
would-
but the travel part, that guidance is kind of not as clear in CDC.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know. Do you have the right to tell an employee to stay home for?
So we'd also have to, put the responsibility on the employee, because if they travel on the weekend, we wouldn't know. They would have to say, I did fly to Chicago this weekend,
Mhm.
or whatever the case may be. And, if it comes through in a travel request, we can,
Right, if
Bring
it's
it
travel
to
for
attention.
work.
Yeah.
County business.
That's, travel for work is a different
Mhm.
item.
So some of my thoughts on this, like if someone is being tested for COVID, obviously they probably shouldn't be coming to work under those situations. Now, someone who travels up till then, they should take their own personal precautions until maybe they would start showing symptoms or something, temperature in the morning. There's different things that you can do and continue to work, but wear masks. If you become symptomatic, obviously, then you need to go get tested and stay home. But Jamie, you want to weigh in on some of this?
I've had a couple of the other emergency managers call me and ask me the same questions.
Hey, Jamie, can I have you come up to
Yeah,
the
if
mic?
you
I'm
wanna
sorry.
Good idea. Sitting here.
Soundbite.
Right.
I've had the same questions come to my office, along with other emergency managers within my region, looking at implementing the same things we're discussing right now. Have they taken action? I don't know, because some of them only work bi-weekly rather than a weekly commissioner meeting. But actually, I haven't gotten a lot the feedback out of it, other than common sense, good hygiene goes a long way. Some of the Department of Health things that you read or catch on to coming out of the state is self-monitor, the pre-screen,
basically,
the temperature check, the basic common, the new guidance, the new normal. 3 to 5 days, if you've had an exposure, it's kind of that timeline if you're going to maybe possibly contract it. That's kind of what I hear, but nothing set in stone on the surrounding counties, the couple of them that I've talked to. But CDC guidance, the air travel thing is a little
there's not
sketchy, not a lot.
service clear. Yeah.
So it's something maybe we can work on maybe and then bring back to the board, see, weigh in on it, whatever, just between Natalie and maybe Jamie and a couple of us or something, if we want to just try to put something somewhat together. So we have good guidance for everyone, I
Right.
guess, before they go, then they know what, could possibly happen when they get back or whatever, but yeah. Anyone else have any thoughts on it?
One of some of the travel policies that I've seen have mostly deal with international travel. I mean, nowadays, or, because we were kind of talking about, massive community, if you go to a place with massive community spread like New York City was a few months ago.
Correct.
That would be something but now that the guidance isn't clear as far as domestic travel goes, so.
So I guess we'll just try to work on something and bring it back, and then I guess then everyone will have a clear idea what it is, whether you agree, don't agree, tweak it, whatever. We'll just kind of pitch something and keep working on it till we are all in agreement.
Sounds
Sound
good.
all right? All right.
Thanks, Jamie.
Very good. Thank you. And Natalie. All right, new business. I have one item. I'm going to check with a few other counties. I received an email from Jason Gloat. He's an attorney in Pierre. Evidently, like the wind energy, some of those have, I'm going to pull up the email, have contracted with him. So in the month of August, sorry, I had this and then I moved it. There is a week or a time frame that is considered wind energy week. I want to say it's the 9th.
It's August, here's the email you sent me,
Yeah, I was
August
looking
9th
for
through the 15th.
Okay. So what he's asking is if we would pass a resolution, since we have wind energy in our county, basically in support of wind energy. You want to fill in the blanks? I'm not pulling it up here. It's just, I thought I might ask a couple of our surrounding counties, Grant, Dual, they'd be in the same situation. I would, if, just to see what they're going to do. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing it out there to you guys. I can forward this email to you as well and give you a chance to read it. Something we'd have to put on the agenda anyway, just kind of give me a
Yeah,
heads up.
he's requesting that you pass a proclamation to be issued for American Wind Week to recognize the impact that wind energy has had in our state and local communities. And he's just asking, would you be willing to issue a proclamation?
What week is that? What week?
The week, American Wind Week takes place August 9th through the 15th.
So I'll maybe have Cindy forward that email on to you. I'll talk with a few other ones. We can put it on the agenda. I mean, it's something we'd have to put on the agenda anyways, whether we want to go forward with that or not or whatever. But it was just a request if we would pass a proclamation. So that's all I have for new business. Anyone else have anything? Okay, anything?
Let's see, next week we are having our tax deed auction sale. I believe Troy is going to act as our auctioneer
Hey.
on the front steps of the courthouse. Three pieces, two pieces I think there is interest in. I'm not sure about that third piece that is a fishing hole out in Elmira Township, we decided. Fishing hole. Yeah, we don't know what it is for sure. It's a very small piece.
It's up next to the city's property, isn't it? Or where they
No,
annexed it?
it's next to a bigger land,
Oh.
ag property, ag owner. So
What would the taxes on that be? For that little parcel?
Very little.
less than $5 a
Oh,
year.
okay.
We all pool
We're
our money, we
hope-
could buy a fishing.
We're
rod.
hoping the adjacent property owner is willing to pick it up and consolidate it with the,
They've been contacted about the auction.
I will check with Carol. Yeah, and see.
Yeah.
Anyway, right now, that's the only thing that I have on the agenda for next
Goldfish.
Tuesday is the auction sale, other than our normal.
It's too small to do anything with, isn't it?
Yeah, unless you want to
Well, you could hunt
unless you
ducks.
want to say you own rural property. I don't know.
Nah, I'll skip that.
You want to call yourself a rural property owner, you could pick that up.
I was looking forward here, Cindy, in September. So during that week for our commission meeting, there's 5 Tuesdays in
Right.
September. So if we miss that middle one, we're still going to get our 4. So that will work out good. We'll just move it rather than the end to the middle.
Okay.
So. All right, well, I guess we'll have a sale next week on some tax deed properties and anything else for the open.
Cindy, what time is that sale again? Just so
9
people
a.m.
know?
As soon as we come up here, we'll
So I need to get
convene up
down and do it.
here, approve the agenda, approve the minutes, and then we'll go down to the front steps. Weather permitting, if the weather is inclement, I will have one of the girls stand down there and direct people up here.
Okay,
In hindsight, we should be doing it up here, but it's just always been
Out on the front
practice to
steps.
do it on the front steps of the courthouse, so. I'll try to remember that for the next, we have had the property appraised also, so we do have a starting bid price.
Good.
All right, anything else? Do we have a need for an executive session?
Yes, we do.
All right,
And it'd be under number 1, which would
Personnel?
be personnel, yeah.
all right.
Is that
I
a
would
motion?
look for a motion then to go into
So
executive
moved.
session by Johnson,
Second.
second by Waterman. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
We are in executive session. Will there be anything when we come out?
Nope.
Okay,
Nope.
no action. All right, very good.